Okay, hello everyone. My name is Alejandro. I'm from GlucoModicum, a Finnish startup. My background is in bioelectronics and physics. So after completing my PhD in Mexico, I moved to Finland 2014. And before co-founding GlucoModicum, I work in the Department of Physics, University of Helsinki. So GlucoModicum, as I mentioned, is a Finnish startup working in the field of diabetes management and non-invasive glucose monitoring. And as we all know, diabetes is a big crisis at the moment. So almost 1.7 billion persons are affected by this condition, and is constantly getting worse. So, and as we all know, in diabetes management, glucose monitoring is fundamental. Unfortunately, as of today, there are only two different systems available for glucose monitoring. One is the standard old-fashioned systems based on test strips, which are intended for single use, for a single measurement, and require a blood of glucose that needs to be extracted from the fingertip to perform that individual measurement. Then on the other hand, there are the state-of-the-art continuous glucose monitors. So the main representatives of those are Freestyle Libre and Dexcom. Those are wearable devices in the form of a patch. And then, of course, there is a needle that penetrates the skin to reach the interstitial fluid and then perform the measurements on the interstitial fluid. Unfortunately, none of those systems are ideal. So if we think about the person, so if we look at the diabetes pathway, so that people walk from the left side to the right-hand side, from a condition of risk to a condition of a more severe form of the disease. So if we look at that pathway, we realize that when it comes to the like test strips, unfortunately, those are not very attractive for those users, individuals who are still on a risk group or in prediabetes, because they don't necessarily realize the importance of periodic glucose monitoring. And also, they are not, so single measurements are not necessarily informative enough as to make a proper diagnosis or then to adequate medication as is needed, or then to motivate certain changes in lifestyle. And then when it comes to, and then of course those persons, most of them, they don't have the incentive, and they are not that willing to pay the cost of the wearable CGM, because of course those devices are a lot more expensive. And then of course when we look at people who are on insulin or type 1 diabetes, then current CGM is definitely a very good solution for them, because then there is a more evident need to monitor glucose continuously. And then those persons are more willing to pay the cost of the glucose meters if their life depends on that. In many cases, those patients get those devices reimbursed from the government. But still, the reach of those devices is very small. So roughly 10% of the entire population who will need them. So evidently there is a need for better and more convenient and affordable solutions for glucose monitoring. That is also reflected in this slide. So we have on the left side of the screen, we have Abbott and Dexcom as the key companies offering continuous glucose monitoring. Those are very successful companies, even though they have penetrated a very small portion of the population. So they are mostly focused on type 1, mostly focused on insulin users, but their penetration of those markets is still relatively very small. And still, business-wise, those companies are performing very well. And our proposal is that, or our mission is to create a more convenient, more affordable device that could reach not only people on insulin, but a much broader population, which